Math 140. This is it. Last video, last homework. Get through this, get through test 2. We should be done. This is part 2 of the review. First one was real quick. I'm going to do some real math in this video. It's going to be a little more involved. But problem 6 on the review homework. I'm talking about normally distributed. I've got means. I've got standard deviations. A lot of familiar stuff. In particular, we did this when I gave you a z number and you had to find a percentage. We used this chart here to help us along that process. So we know these type of problems, but there's a wrinkle here because I'm giving you a percentage, and I'm asking you to find the x, the measurement, the SAT score in this case. In other words, I'm going from percent to x. We've never done one quite like this. Hold that thought. We'll get there. But first, I'm going to actually propose another question. I'm going to say, well, what if I give you a z-score and then ask you for the x value, the SAT score in this case? What if I give you a z and I said, tell me what the test score is? Let's solve that one first. So z-score to test score. How do we do that? Well, here's your z-score formula. We're familiar with that. Let's look at the information. I've got a mean up here. Okay, so I can put that into the formula here. You'll notice the x bar, the mean, turns into 1518. All right. What's next? Okay, the standard deviation is 325. Oh, sorry about that. Standard deviation is 325. That's my S value. Put it in the equation. All right, usually we get you the X and we can go for it, but I don't have it. I have a Z-score. So put the Z-score in here. Notice you've got this sort of lopsided equation. If I give you a Z-score, you get this lopsided equation, and then you have to use algebra to solve. How do you solve it? You can cross multiply 325 times 2. You multiply here, and then you have to plus or minus the 1518. I'll let you do the algebra, but you go through all the steps, and you can get X is 2,168. If I give you a Z-score, you get this lopsided equation. You do some algebra, and you get your X. For lack of a better word, I'm going to say everything we just did, going from the Z-score to the X, I'm going to call it the process. Hold that idea because it'll come up again. How come? Because let's go back to what we just did. The process went from a Z number, 2, to the X number, the SAT score, the 2168. So I'm working backwards now. Problem part B, I give you a X score. You are going to get a Z score. How? You know the Z-score formula. That's easy enough. Then, once you have the Z-score, then you'll do that process that I just told you, and you'll get another X score. You're like going from one test score to a Z-score to another X test score, and that'll be your final answer for the ACT. Whew. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of moving parts. One test score to a Z-score to another test score to the final answer. If you can follow all those steps, thumbs up. By the way, I'll mention this. Problem 6 is probably about the hardest problem we'll get through. But hey, I think you're up to the challenge. Let's go backwards one more step to Part A. Part A, on your homework, it's 66%. I'm going to go 77%, but you'll see the idea. How do I get from a percentage to a Z? I don't think we've ever done that. But I will ask you this. I will say, wait a minute. We know how to go from a Z-score to a percentage. We did this before. This is from an old video. I think this should look familiar. You know how to go from Z-score to percentage. So how can I just reverse the process? How can I go from percent to Z-score? All right, well, think about it. Those are the Z numbers. No, I don't want to start with this. I want to start with the percents. The percents are all these numbers in here. In particular, I was talking about 77%, or if you move the decimal, it'd be 0.07700. All right, sort of like a search and find here, 0.7700. Can you find it in these grids here somewhere? And you usually don't find it exactly. I think you're going to get up pretty close, like right about here. There's 0.7734. It's pretty close. And you go backwards. You say, oh, it's 7.5. Okay, I went from a percentage, 77, and I went backwards and got a Z number. Okay. So a percentage, I turned it into the Z number. Then, remember that whole process we were talking about a minute ago? Do that process. You'll get an X number, you'll have your SAT, and you'll be done. Whew. Number 6, you're going to earn your keep on that one. That is a big math problem. But if you can get through all this percents to Z's to X's and X to Z, if you can handle all that back and forth, thumbs up. I think you're doing great in this course. And by the way, on that final test, there's a question like this, so I just want to make sure you're prepared. All right, taking a deep breath on that, let's get through the last 2 questions. Problem number 7, central limit theorem. All right, that's the Z-score. We know that. We know the new standard deviation for the central limit and greater than 30. Yes, spoiler alert. Remember last week I was saying, okay, there's a rule. That's the rule for central limit theorem. It has to be bigger than 30. Problem 7 just says why. It's not asking you to solve. It's just saying why, if I only have 16 people, why does this rule work? Because it's not bigger than 30. Normally distributed. I'll let you figure that out on your own. Okay, problem number 8. Problem number 8, mean and standard deviation. Yeah, mean. We did, the standard deviation. We did that before. You know how to find it. For a big group of 36, the standard deviation, you're going to use this new formula. As far as finding the mean, I'll let you wrestle with that. Maybe check the video in week 8 for a little details on that. Question 9, the very last one. As soon as you see that word proportion, I use the word, that's a red flag. Proportion means you got to use this this formula right here. I stole this from Acrobatic. We've gone through it before. In particular, I'm looking at these equations right here. So if I give you 19%, if I give you 24 people, put those into those equations. If they work out bigger than 10, your answer is yes. If they're not bigger than 10, the answer is no. Okay, problem part B, I'm looking for probabilities. So probabilities, yeah, we're back to the chart, the z-score, all that good stuff. But remember, the z-score in this case, in these proportion problems, we need to rely on this formula right here. So what do we got? 19%. Okay, that's my average. That's my average amount of only children. I've got 21%. That's the one I'm trying to find. And I've got this standard deviation formula right here. So take the numbers here, find the standard deviation, put it all together, you'll get your z. And going way back to what we were talking about before, you know how to go from z to x. So you can wrap that together and solve part B. My goodness gracious. Oh, by the way, hint, P is 19% right there. A lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff going on in 6, 7, 8, and 9 for this homework. But I think you can tackle it. I think you get through it. Submit that. I'll get you password for test number 2. And then we'll be done with the course. And if there's any makeup work, I'll contact you individually about that. But the end's in sight. We are almost there. Looking forward to that break. Let me know if you have any questions.